Hey guys, Hot Rod Reverend back at it again today. We're going to talk about the 5 biggest myths about the Y Block Ford V8 engine. And today, what ends up happening on social media, what ends up on the internet, at swap meets and car shows are just so many lies, so many myths, so many tales that's been passed down from generation to generation about the Y Block Ford that just are not true. And one of the things we do on this channel is we set the record straight. So let's get right down to it. Number 1, the first urban legend, the first myth is this: Ford trucks came from the factory with a 312. Now, a lot of us know about the Y Block Ford 239, 56, 272, 292, 312, with 312 being a larger stroke at 3.44. Of course, from the factory, 3.8 standard bore. The best performing engine that Ford made in this series. And it's highly coveted. A lot of guys want to get a 312. Everybody owns a 312 when they're selling the car or selling the truck. Ford never shipped any trucks from the factory with a 312. A ton, multiplied thousands of 292s, 272s, and 1955 239s even, but never a 312. Look high and low, check all the records you want. Ford never manufactured a truck that left the factory with a 312. Myth number 2 is this: Y blocks are known for spun cam bearings. A lot of guys think that Y blocks are prone to have the cam bearings inside that tunnel spin over time, and that is, it couldn't be anything further from the truth on that. In my lifetime of working with Y blocks over 30-some years, I've never run across any blocks, not one, that had a spun cam bearing. That's an urban legend and an old wives' tale. What does happen, rebuilders, they'll get in a hurry and they won't line up the holes that are supposed to line up to the block, the cam bearing, to feed the oil up to both sides, both heads, up there to the rocker arm shafts. That does happen. I have seen rebuilders mess that up. A lot of times, the easiest thing for a rebuilder to do is just to blame the bearing and just say that the Y Block Ford is just prone to spun cam bearings, and that's why it can't get oil up to the top. That is a myth. That never happens. I've never run across anybody I know who owns a Y Block, and I know hundreds of guys that have owned Y Blocks over the years. They've never run across that problem. Myth number 3 is this: ECZG heads are 312 heads. Now, we've heard a lot of guys say, I've got a 312 head, or I'm selling a pair of 312 heads. The only head that ever came just on a 312 would be that supercharger head in 1957. That's the only head we could ever say was a 312 head. Now, in 1957, what makes the waters very murky is that Ford did some odd things with their part numbers on the blocks: ECZ6015A, ECZ6015C, and so on. We know 6015 is the block number, but that could be either a 292 or a 312. Fact of the matter is, in 1957, the ECZG heads, and a lot of guys, we look to that head as the best head that Ford made, naturally aspirated for performance, large valve, of course. They came on 292s. They also came on 272s from the factory in 1957. So we can never say that's a 312 head unless we're looking at that supercharger head from 1957. Myth number 4 is this: there's a company now manufacturing a one-piece rear main seal. Yes, you've heard it right here, ladies and gentlemen. That is something to report to you. I don't know how this stuff gets out. I don't know who these guys are on Facebook, what they're smoking. I have no idea. There's no way you could ever have a one-piece rear main seal on a Y Block crankshaft. How are you going to get the seal around the crankshaft flange to get to the rear main seal area? I have no idea. It's impossible. The laws of physics, geometry, space, and matter ensure that there's no way you could ever have a one-piece rear main seal on a Y Block crankshaft. Myth number 5, vented valley pans were only on Thunderbirds. Vented valley pans were only on Thunderbirds. Now, for a lot of us that are trying to convert our early Y Block to a PCV system, or we're trying to get the crankcase fumes out and different things, we're going to be looking for a vented valley pan. For some odd reason out there in internet land and the forums and on social media and all the rest of it, there's this idea that only the Y Block powered Thunderbirds 55, 6, and 7 had the vented valley pan. Nothing could be further from the truth. 1956, from the factory, Ford had the vented valley pan with that crankcase breather tube that ran down the back of the bell housing. 57, of course, there were so many cars and trucks that had vented valley pans. These are actually quite common to the Ford line. Now, the PCV system is not. Ford didn't come out with that till the early 60s. I believe in 1962 with cars and trucks. And you can find some of this. I've got right here, I'll show you a couple diagrams from the Ford manual just about how the PCV system would work. But vented valley pans can be found well beyond Thunderbirds. Now, if you love these in the 50s and 60s Ford Y Blocks, stay tuned to the Hot Rod Reverend channel. There's so much content that we're putting out these days, a lot that's coming up this fall. You want to subscribe, you want to like, you want to hit the notification button. Make sure that you share the channel with other guys. We have grown now to over 3,000 subscribers. I'm getting messages, contact, emails, all kinds of things every single day now that concerns the Y Block. A lot of times I think it's best if we put together a little video for you guys to answer some of those questions. So stay tuned right here to Hot Rod Reverend. Visit hotrodreverend.com when you have the chance. Find out why I have the name. I am a preacher of the gospel of Jesus Christ, and I like running around with these old Fords.